And quickly, deliberate. Action.
Welcome to the Tibet Center. Here at 150 151 West 30th Street, 3rd floor. So we'll begin by reciting the prayer for the spreading of the teachings throughout the length and breadth of the West, which you'll find in the FAQ section on the Tibet Center website. And I should make a little announcement. I know that many of you sometimes go back to our old videos on YouTube. They are no longer on YouTube. Where can they be found, Darren?
Well, they'll be on Facebook for 30 days, and I'm going to make sure that they're on YouTube and somewhere on the website. We're going to have
on the website.
Page on the website.
So, in the future, they will be on our Tibet Center website, www.thetibetcenter.org, and there will be all our past teachings. That may take a little while, but Darren is on it.
Facebook is what's going away, not YouTube.
Facebook is going away, but it will be on. You can watch the teachings on Facebook, but we can't keep our archive of old videos there. So if you want to see old videos, old teachings, go to the Tibet Center's website, and there will be past teachings. Okay. By the force of the blessings of the non-fallacious three precious gems, and of the truth of our pure selfless wishes, may the precious Buddhist teachings flourish and spread to the expanse of all areas throughout the length and breadth of the West. For all the people living there, together with their near ones, who have engaged in the teachings and have faith and respect for them, may all conditions adverse to their practice of the pure Dharma be dispelled, and an excellent collection of favorable conditions increase like the waxing moon. And especially for those who work on methods to accomplish the flourishing and spreading of the victorious one's teachings, which are the source of benefit and happiness, may they never be oppressed by masses of interference and adverse conditions, and may this spontaneously happen just as we have hoped to wish. Heart Sutra. Thus have I heard once. The Blessed One was dwelling in the royal domain of the Vulture Peak Mountain, together with a big gathering of great monks and great bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One entered the Samadhi, which examines. At the same time, noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, looking at the profound practice of transcendent knowledge, saw the five skandhas and their natural emptiness. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, Venerable Shariputra said to Avalokiteshvara, "How should those noble ones learn who wish to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge?" And Avalokiteshvara answered, "Venerable Shariputra, whoever wishes to follow the profound practice of transcendent knowledge should look at it like this, seeing the five skandhas in their natural emptiness. Form is empty, emptiness itself is form. Emptiness is not separate from form, form is not separate from emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discriminating awareness, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Thus all the dharmas are empty and have no characteristics. They are unborn and unceasing. They are not impure or pure. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, since there is emptiness, there is no form, no feeling, no discriminating awareness, no compositional factors, no consciousness, no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no appearance, no sound, no smell, no taste, no sensation, no objects of mind, no quality of sight, no quality of hearing, no quality of smelling, no quality of tasting, no quality of sensing, no quality of thought, no quality of mind consciousness. There are no nidanas from ignorance to old age and death, nor their wearing out. There is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no ending of suffering, and no power, no wisdom, no attainment, no non-attainment. Therefore, since there is no attainment, the Bodhisattvas abide by means of transcendent knowledge. And since there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear, they transcend felicity and pass beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas of the world, past, present, and future, by means of transcendent knowledge, fully and clearly awaken to unsurpassed, true, complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of transcendent knowledge, the mantra of deep insight, the unsurpassed mantra, the unequaled mantra, the mantra which calms all suffering, to be known as truth, for there is no perfection. The mantra is proclaimed. Tathagata Om Gate Gate Paragate Parasargate Madheswaya. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn profound transcendent knowledge. Then the Blessed One arose from that samadhi and praised the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara, saying, Good, O son of noble family, profound transcendent knowledge should be practiced just as you are taught, and the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Shariputra and Avalokiteshvara, that whole gathering and the world with its gods, humans, asuras, and gandharvas, their hearts full of joy, praised the words of the Blessed One. And now we generate bodhicitta. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. With the wish to free all beings, I shall always go for refuge to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha until I reach full enlightenment. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I shall generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. As long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So, let us recite. I'm going to put this here. Is that working? Okay. So we'll do one rosary of Om Mani Padme Hum, and please look at and think about the meaning of these three verses. We're going for refuge until we attain enlightenment to the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Then we generate the intention to attain enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings. And then we determine to remain to help sentient beings. So think about this as you are reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum, Om Mani Padme Hum. So these three verses, with the wish to free all beings. So the motivation is set at the very, very beginning. The reason for going for refuge to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha is with the wish to free all beings. And we go for refuge until we attain full enlightenment, not freedom from cyclic existence or freedom from suffering, but the full enlightenment of a Buddha who has the quality of omniscience by which he or she can help others. We seek that because simply striving for freedom from our own suffering doesn't provide us with the tools by which we can really benefit others. So we're seeking full enlightenment.
Put this in a shot, let me know. Okay.
So we wish to become a fully enlightened Buddha, possessing all the qualities of a Buddha, in order to most effectively benefit others, help others. Inspired by wisdom and compassion, today in the Buddha's presence, I generate the mind intent on full awakening for the benefit of all sentient beings. So here, this is the actual generation of bodhicitta. We are determining, we are vowing to work towards the attainment of full enlightenment in order to benefit others. So this is not a pursuit of, as I say, freedom from our own suffering. This is the pursuit of the tools, the abilities, the methods by which we can really most effectively help others. The greater our compassion, the more determined we will be to really attain a state where we can implement that compassion, actually help others. And then the last verse, as long as space endures, as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. So it's not that upon attaining full enlightenment we sit back and relax. On the contrary, we're not simply vowing to attain enlightenment. We are committing ourselves to put those enlightened qualities to the service, or put them in the service of all sentient beings. So, these are really extraordinary three verses, which, when we recite Om Mani Padme Hum, we've been thinking about the meaning of Om Mani Padme Hum. We've been cultivating compassion. But if we really think about these three verses, which we've just recited before we recite the mantra Om Mani Padme Hum, they really inspire all the qualities that we should be cultivating while reciting Om Mani Padme Hum. Okay. So, now, Beyond Religion, Ethics for a Whole World by His Holiness the Dalai Lama. I have a mark here on page 134, the question of moods. Now, moods, as His Holiness says, moods, this professor, Dr. Paul Ekman, suggests that moods really taint us, and moods are a real problem. They're sort of like being in a fog. determined by the mood, and so his preoccupation is with moods. Now, His Holiness is suggesting that though we may have moods, moods don't have the solidity that might be suggested. Moods, if you're in a bad mood and someone gives you good news, that can take you right out of your bad mood. So moods do not have the solidity, the definitive quality that we sometimes think they do. And His Holiness's suggestion is that we work not on this mood business, but on the afflictive emotion that might be causing or underlying these moods. But it's interesting that there is a whole sub-chapter to moods. So the question of moods in the United States in recent years, I've enjoyed a number of dialogues with Dr. Paul Ekman, one of the pioneers of the scientific study of emotion, or what is called affective neuroscience. In Dr. Ekman's view, it is not our emotions which he describes as fleeting, our emotions are fleeting, that are the most harmful to our well-being, but our moods. While emotions come and go quite quickly, moods are more enduring, and because they are largely latent, underlying our state of mind, but without any particular focus, they can also be somewhat hidden to our conscious awareness, and therefore harder to tackle. It is the moods, Dr. Ekman says, which make us more susceptible to certain emotions, and it is to them that we should turn our attention. This is Dr. Ekman's view. This, I think, is a helpful observation. In my understanding, emotions, moods, and personal traits can all be treated as kindred phenomena, which lie along a kind of continuum, each having a more enduring quality than the former. For this reason, the fundamental way of dealing with them are largely the same. However, the question of moods also raises the issue of a person's general level of energy, both physical and mental. In Buddhist tradition, there's a strong emphasis, particularly in the context of mental training, on countering the opposing problems of excessive laxity, dullness, or sloth on the one hand, and excessive excitement on the other. I think these kinds of advice, which I discuss further in Chapter 11, may have some bearing on the issue of tackling our moods. Also, while moods may appear to be very difficult to dislodge, I think we all have experienced a mood shifting very quickly in response to some good news. This shows that they are not as stable and enduring as they may seem. Sometimes a mood can be the product of some emotion bottled up inside, and when you release that emotion by talking with someone, perhaps apologizing for something you regret, or even sharing a joke, sharing the joke can be very
good. You have to be licensed. It gets out of hand.
Yes, if you really have a bad mood, you can turn to Tony and he can share a joke, and your mood can quickly change. Of course, such relief can be temporary. Sorry, Tony. Somewhat like the relief you get from taking painkillers. So Tony's jokes are mere painkillers. So in the end, and this is what's most important, the most effective way to deal with moods is to deal with the underlying emotions themselves. So all of the practices that we've been engaging in, applying the antidotes to afflictive emotions, attachment, aversion, pride, and particularly ignorance, dealing at that level, those are the underlying emotions that we really have to work on. There's no doubt that dealing with our negative propensities is very challenging. Faced with life's daily setbacks, we can all too easily fall into old negative habits of mind, such as frustration, anger, or despondency. What we need, therefore, is a constant renewal of our effort to live by the values we want to uphold. Now, let's discuss this. What do you think is meant by what we need, therefore, is a constant renewal of our effort to live by the values we want to uphold?
Can I ask the first question?
No, I've asked a question.
Question more.
Mr. Ekman seems to say emotions are more fleeting compared to moods. His Holiness seems to say that emotions are the underlying thing.
Mm-hmm.
So is that difference is there between them?
So, say it again.
So Ekman seems to say that the emotion is the fleeting thing. The mood is the underlying thing. More,
Underlying or overlying.
but the more perhaps static thing. Whereas His Holiness seems to say that the mood is more fleeting and the underlying emotion is the more root.
The underlying seems to be the more root. We have to tackle the underlying emotions rather than, and thereby diminish the effect of the mood. Yes. But my question is, what does this mean, this last sentence?
Can you repeat the sentence?
What we need, therefore, is a constant renewal of our effort to live by the values we want to uphold.
Mindfulness and introspection.
Constant renewal of effort. Does that kind of fall in line with the joyful perseverance we were talking about the other day? A constant kind of returning to what we learned from the Dharma, to return to what it is to not be attached to our emotions?
Yes, but so what does this mean? What are we actually meant to be doing?
Meditate in the morning to diminish little by little.
Diminish what?
Our afflictive emotions, our tendencies, our propensities, so that we're prepared as we enter these obstacles throughout the day.
And the fog of mood.
The fog of them takes over if we're not vigilant.
Uh-huh. Yes.
It seems like whenever I'm in a deep state of a really rotten mood, I think maybe since studying the Dharma, I realize, wow, I'm really deep in right now. I'm really attached to something. Something's really got me, and I really have a belief that something is actually here to stay and it's not flexible. And so I feel like for me, attachment is the thing to remember, that if I'm attached to something like this emotion or this mood, it's never going to change. So if I can consider that I don't have to be attached, or this mood can be impermanent, then I feel like I can switch it up.
So you're saying that to acknowledge or to recognize that you can actually switch it off.
Yeah, I think that to acknowledge that I'm attached.
To whatever the
Yes.
afflictive emotion is.
Yes, or the mood that I have. Or yes, since we're trying to identify the emotions, I often have to acknowledge I'm attached to being upset right now. I'm attached to being the person that's upset. And if I can let go of that and consider maybe someone else's state of being, or consider someone else
So that the affliction that you're really grappling with is attachment.
I think so. I think so. Well, no, I think that like the emotion is the affliction probably, but attachment is really.
Well, emotion doesn't mean anything. Emotion can be any.
Okay, so being upset, I suppose, is the thing that I am attached to. So I think attachment is it. Yeah, maybe. Maybe.
I believe, reading this,
You have to jump.
about,
You have to jump.
I wish realized that. Thank you.
no, it's about, we may be despondent and therefore give up. Or we may be angry and be, tempted to have some kind of manic frenzy of, rash action. Or we might be frustrated and then give up. But I think what this is saying is that we have to realize that these are described as being moods, like a despondent, this all won't come to anything, or it's like, God, these people are terrible, I have to, destroy them. These are moods, and we have to recognize that we're being ruled by these moods. And it says that we have to remember that we're trying to uphold values that are, that these moods will interfere with our attaining what we're trying to achieve. Compassion and I guess something like that.
I think it's a call for mindfulness, is what he's saying, that we have to not forget ever, once we make our commitments, that we should continue. I think it's basically a call for mindfulness.
A constant renewal of our effort to live by the values we want to uphold. Yes. So he said sort of, I don't know, 3 things here. He said there is this idea of mood, and yes, it can affect us, but the mood is made up of these afflictive emotions, and I'm recommending that you work on those and remain focused on working on those. Is that?
That's what it sounds like. With young children, if they're hungry, or even with adults when they're hungry, their mood changes very quickly. And there is that body-mind connection where we have to also be mindful of taking care of ourselves in order to be able to manifest.
That's
our
why
intention.
our Dharma classes in New Jersey, we can't do it here because we're not meant to eat here, but we spend more time dealing with satisfying that challenge to.
We may start drinking, who knows?
Arrangements have to be.
And if we need energy, Tony provides the
Chocolate.
espressos.
I call it starving body syndrome. When
Starving
people
body
get work
syndrome?
because they're hungry.
Sorry?
Starving body syndrome.
And then what did you say?
I can hear it.
What did you say after starving body syndrome?
Oh, that's what I call it.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens.
low blood sugar.
People get hungry and then they get mad. So a lot of it is physiological, and you have to factor that in.
So here we're not trying to, feed people who are going to get angry. We're watching ourselves, right? it is my tendency towards getting impatient when I haven't eaten that I have to deal with. Und?
How does wisdom factor into working with these emotions?
Like, you mean the wisdom to know when to eat? And the wisdom to know when
Wisdom, which is
to stop eating?
The wisdom which the Buddha says is the root of our problems. The wisdom that says that which is the antidote to the root of our problems.
So, at some point here, we were talking about something where it was me and my frustration with the fact that things are not going the way I would like them to go. Didn't you? And that me that is at the core of that, if we develop the wisdom realizing selflessness, the whole idea of a me that is dissatisfied will lose its validity.
And these emotions, I was thinking as you're saying that, when we start, they're fleeting moments, they're changing. Instead of getting fixated on it, that it dissolves. The more you practice, the more you can catch it and say, oh, there it is again.
That's right.
And it starts to dissolve. That's the main thing. That it's a fleeting
And if you
emotion.
don't work at catching it, it'll just get stronger.
But I think the fact that sometimes it has to get stronger and it has to take you over to realize this is not going in the right direction. You have to really then understand that it's not going to work. It's going to dull your ability to get out of, to transcend the moment. And when I say transcend, to do something positive that will be helpful, not just for me, but for others. Because we can get blinded by these emotions.
So, the whole idea that you have to fall down in order to develop the awareness of your situation to get up. I think that with practice we can stop having to fall before we, I still have to fall, and in order to develop contentment with what I have to first eat too much and then feel full and then regret and then thereby develop an awareness that keeps me more disciplined. But that's me. And this is Darren. And aligning our daily choices, behaviors, and relationships with the principles, that we believe constantly, not just when it's convenient. That's what helps us address afflictive emotions. All right. Aligning our daily choices, behaviors, relationships with the principles that we believe constantly, not just when it's convenient. So we have to align our daily choices, behavior, and relationships with the principles that we believe constantly, not just when it's convenient. That's what will help us address afflictive emotions. Thank you, Aradhana. Okay,
Same as others said, mindfulness, said awareness before.
Yep.
Same thing.
And we have to remain vigilant.
What about extreme manic happy moods that get out of hand? we're always going in a low, terrible mood. There are some times when you get carried away by something positive, but it's out of hand. Of course, we don't see reality, so we magnify everything according to our inner being. But you have to watch that too, I think. At least mental health people say that. You should watch the extreme moods, the overly ebullient mood. I don't have my handle on it. I don't know.
I remember when I went to India, and on the 1st of March, 1985, I became a monk. And I was so happy, I was so excited. I was excited to be starting to study, and I was really full of enthusiastic excitement. And my teacher in the monastery, who then became the abbot of the monastery, RINPOCHE, said to me, "You are very happy." I said, "Yes." He said, "You have to be calm."
It's the same.
He said, "If you're calm, then you can go for a long time."
Yeah.
So the whole idea of steadying ourselves to be able to go for a long time, that sudden enthusiasm is like a sugar rush.
Yeah, the burning energy of unresident concerns. It's interesting.
I find that it's an interesting analogy actually, that a mental, I guess, or endurance. I mean, I tend to think of it in terms of a physical endurance. And I think about, for instance, cycling. And you do not, one of the greatest things is that you have to conserve your energy for the times when, and you have to know when to use it. And if you use all your energy, then you're useless for the rest of whatever your ride. And so, and I guess it's the same thing with spiritual. I mean, there's an endurance involved.
Yes. So there's the physical endurance, there's the emotional endurance, and we really have to learn to manage ourselves. That's really part of the responsibility. I think that's what you're... I'm going to skip ahead and read something that I think is related to, on page 144, for those of you who have the book. His Holiness says, so contentment, here His Holiness is one of the things that he introduces, and we'll go through it more thoroughly, but is the idea of developing contentment and learning to diminish our attachment and be content with what we have. Contentment, according to this view, so before that, literally, contentment, knowing what is enough, or knowing when to be contented. It means being able to find satisfaction without looking for more. Contentment, according to this view, is something like the virtue of moderation. It implies a certain modesty of ambition, or having limited desires. By living modestly and setting reasonable limits, we free ourselves from the sense of insecurity and insufficiency born of incessant craving. By practicing contentment, we allow ourselves to rest in an underlying state of satisfaction, confident in the knowledge that we are living by the ideals we seek to uphold. By limiting our wants and desires, we avoid suffering the dissatisfaction and frustration which greed generates. I think that that paragraph is extraordinary, and I just read it, and I think it's something to really contemplate, because it is in direct contradiction with our cultural, with our culture, with what today's society is really cultivating in us and trying to generate as a sort of ambition for people. So I don't know if you'd like to work at unpacking this, because there's a lot in there.
That's all right.
Contentment. So the whole idea of being content with what we have is already, just taking that, we're already sort of countering the norms, you know, what our cell phones are pushing us to do, our computers are pushing us to do as we walk along the street, the advertising and the sort of cultural, the accessibility of entertainment, of satisfaction, of I don't know, is something, I think it's greater than it probably ever has been. Especially, I mean, the cell phone really brings it into our most intimate experience of life. So to work at countering that demands really working at appreciating this quality called contentment, and really understanding what contentment means or is, and appreciating it, and then working at developing it.
If you're content, you're not manipulable. You can't be manipulated. You're happy, you're satisfied. And advertising always pushes that you lack it. Here it is. It's always, and puts you in an uplifting mood, which is false.
It comes from the innate need of other people to manipulate and push you into doing what they want rather than what is yours. That we're a culture of having been manipulated.
But I'm not sure we can put the blame on other people. I think
No,
we have
it's not other people individually. It's a culture. It's a society that wants to move forward and is blind in their forward motion. We misunderstand what evolution is. That we should be evolving in a towards contentment rather than towards gain.
I was going to say, I was very, reading, I guess it was in Geoffrey Hawkins, and there was something that was written that really struck me, and it says, to free ourselves from the afflictions of greed, one thing is that one must learn to be content with mediocre food and clothing. And when that was such a, to me, a kind of liberating idea. Because, we're supposed to be, we just are constantly thinking like, how can I eat better? Or what, can I be dressed better? And these are kinds of things. And then to have that, no, you shouldn't maybe do that. And I was thinking, in terms of my father, who, my mother and I actually were of the opposite point of view, but he was obviously content with mediocre food. And so, I don't know, and to just see that in a new perspective. And that whether I can learn to be that content, I don't know. But it's like, it's interesting to see that that's a possibility. And
Well,
I think it's a desirable possibility.
The fact that you have mentioned it, and the fact that you have identified a benefit to cultivating contentment itself will diminish your need to, or your pursuit of
Unreasonable.
my brother introduced me to an ice cream place here in New York that we felt was the best ice cream in New York. And I brought a friend to have ice cream there and said, I really think this is the best ice cream in New York. It's not there anymore, grown. And I said, you know, this is ridiculous because by pursuing the best ice cream, I'm diminishing my ability to be happy with less good ice cream.
Yes. You ruin your palate.
Would that old chef say, what's the best wine? The kind you like.
I always feel really turned around by that with food in particular, because it feels like if especially with mindfulness and learning about nutrition or food, I start to learn about the things that do benefit me, and then with that mind that I feel like I've, attempted to hone with meditation and, compassion, all these things, that mind has steered me toward the healthy things that I could find for myself. And not wanting something that's unhealthy, I start to, I want the healthy food, but I don't want to be snobby about having healthy food. And I find myself confused by it sometimes, a feeling like it doesn't have to be fancy food, but I want it to be healthy and serve my body. But sometimes the food that I'm given, or food someone has, isn't the healthiest food, and I should eat it anyway, and I know that. And yet I know that the result in terms of my health or how I'm going to feel is going to be bad, because I know how it affects my state. And I find that to be perplexing. I don't know. Is the contentment of just having and receiving the food that I'm given more valuable than feeling awful afterward in my body? I don't know.
I think she's saying we need to eat better food.
No, I'm
It's a class.
I'm not at all.
Yes,
I think I just.
I heard that. We're insulted, we're very hurt.
Yeah, that's food in the veterinary, but such good food there.
So I don't think that we can say this is the way and this is not. I think that it's a work in progress, and I think that there are times when we eat food that we know is, the trouble is that this pursuit of only organic and it's got to be this and it's got to be that only sets us up to be unhappy, dissatisfied, etc. And we can work at not eating so much sugar, while still,
That way.
I think there's a middle way. We are pursuing the middle way. We were working on the design of the monastery, and I was intent on our rooms and the design of the place really being uplifting to the monks. The rooms, the proportions of the rooms and the placement of the windows and all those things would really uplift the spirits of our monks. And figuring out how high the ceiling should be, not to make them too high, but to make them high enough so that the rooms would remain cool, and really sort of getting into that. And I would go to my teacher, and he lived in this tiny little room with low ceilings, and none of the things that I felt were so important did his room possess. And yet, his contentment, his happiness made this room wonderful. One sat there and one derived all the benefits, the happiness that I felt would come from the right proportions. They all came from him. It was wonderful. So I think that if we really work towards contentment, and if we really work towards finding that sort of middle way, the food will be healthy.
Talking about 36th Street, Rinpoche's apartment.
No, I was talking about my teacher's
There was another one
house.
that was tiny.
Yeah,
And the
and
same
what did he
feeling.
live on? He lived on, in the morning he would have 2 bagels, at lunch he would have 2 bagels,
Bagels,
in the evening he would have plain bagels.
Eat like it.
No cream cheese, no nothing.
Oranges,
Bagels.
sometimes. Yeah, very simple.
It brings to mind other people who have, like Dorothy Day, who never wore new clothes. She only got things secondhand. And Gandhi, who wore almost nothing. And St. John, who lived in a urinal for many months of his life. All these people were content in their awareness of how little extravagance brings.
But we can't just throw everything off. Contentment has to be worked towards.
Yeah.
We have to appreciate contentment more than we do the organic peanut butter. And that's
But I
not
like
easy.
your organic cucumber so much.
Sorry? So, but slowly, by recognizing the benefits of contentment, that'll change us.
But don't you think that the contentment is a reward for effort?
Yes, but we're not meant to be starving ourselves.
No,
We're meant to be working at developing greater contentment.
But the thing is that if we, what it said on the other page, if we're honoring our commitment, that contentment comes, just in my view, my own, as a reward for that commitment. That it's organic, that it comes to you organically from the work that you do to understand emptiness, maybe.
Yes.
Could you also say that contentment is its own reward? In other words,
But once you're content, you don't need a reward.
That's what he's saying.
well, you know,
But I think part of contentment comes because the things that we see as inherently producing comfort or inherently producing discomfort, people like Rinpoche don't see them that way. So it's not that they're seeing this thing that is comfortable and then saying, oh, I don't need that. They see, there's no perception of it as inherently comfortable. So it seems to me that wisdom is the key thing.
Well, working at developing contentment contentment can, one of the ways by which you develop contentment is to realize that phenomena lack the inherent quality that we attribute to them. That's one of the ways we have to work on ourselves. Yes.
I think contentment, the opposite, right? If we don't, we are not satisfied and then we want more, I think the result will bring us more suffering.
Mm-hmm.
That is why we want to stay away from suffering. We want happiness, but has to have wisdom to have the right happiness. If we have no wisdom, then we just follow our own habits. We thought that is happy, but actually it's really, but that will bring us to suffering. So contentment is the way to bring us to more peaceful, to happiness.
So that's the other, what you just said is really important. We can work at recognizing the lack of inherent existence of a phenomenon, but we can also work and must work at what you've just said, which is recognizing that our striving for the perfect this or the right that leads to our own dissatisfaction and suffering. Yes. So these are.
If we ask ourselves a question, why I cannot feel content? Because sometimes people don't feel content with material things. There's a much deeper reason behind it. Like for example, somebody wants to buy a fancy apartment. It's not because he needs it that big. He wants to show off. He wants to how he feel when his friends and give compliments. And he may have a not so high self-esteem. And behind that, he wants to feel, appreciated. He wants love. So, normally we don't ask those reasons. On the surface, it's like material things. It's like holiness said, people all chase for happiness, but chase in the wrong way. So, we seldom like to analyze that. Ask ourselves why. And if we do that, I think that will make it easier and to solve the problem in an effective way.
Yes, absolutely. It is evident that we all recognize the fact that contentment is a worthy pursuit. And there are these different ways we have to go about cultivating it. And it's the line or the level, you were talking about St. John, or the different people you were talking about, that we keep on working at it and keep on working at it. But as Rinpoche used to often say, it's not that you have to get rid of everything.
Right.
You have to work at diminishing your attachment to the things. The problem is not with the things. The problem is with our attachments. And that's one of the ways in which we diminish attachment is to separate ourselves with things to a certain extent. But I think it's very valuable as a photographer. I can be attached to the camera, or else I can think of the camera as a tool. And that's not an easy step to make between the two, but you can work at it. You can work at not indulging in attachment towards it, and recognizing it as a tool. One of the ways by which you can do that is to actually analyze and recognize that quality of the basis for the attachment is this, my imputation of some inherent quality that I attribute to the thing, and seeing that that doesn't exist definitely diminishes the attachment.
Right.
So there are these different ways by which we work at it. But
It's a creation of mind.
I do think it's important to emphasize that the problem is not in the
Item.
item, it's in our. So, Sly Stone,
Yeah.
Frederick Forsyth. It's quite a.
Sly Stone was 82.
I used to work with him.
So, I'm off to India very soon. Tony will be teaching. He resents the title of teacher, but he will be leading, presenting, and discussing His Holiness's new Lamrim
No, you see Rinpoche, but there's parts of that. No, we'll do the same frame of love, but to show how
discussions.
His Holiness took his little sections from where it's based on Lamrim. He just got rid of some of the devotional part for the average person. But also the same format. You open your mouth whenever you want, and we'll have a discussion. It's
Well,
mainly
what text of His Holiness are we using?
the Lamrim,
Lamrim. I see.
all three kinds, JC. So the Lamrim itself,
Okay.
it's the same thing.
Okay.
Because I don't feel, and I write it out mostly, so to give you a good shot. But anyway, the format is different. People can, usually people open their mouth anyway, but they're in the middle of a sentence, but that's all right. But questions back and forth and discussion in the class, there's no, no from the top down. It can't be, but there is no top
You want to
down.
all look at Darren?
I'm looking at Darren.
Darren, that's a picture of us all. Everyone look at Darren.
What are you doing, Darren? What are you doing, Darren?
Are
You
we
want
supposed
to-
to take the picture with you?
I'm here, I'm in the
Yeah,
picture.
but are we supposed to be around you? Is there
You
supposed to
are,
be a
you are,
photo?
I'm here and
That's
you're
so
all,
right.
it's,
We're breaking new ground here. Did you know that?
Somewhere in the middle.
okay. We shall read the Sutra of the Recollection of the Noble Three Jewels, thinking of Frederick Forsyth and Sly Stone. I prostrate to the Omniscient
Check
One.
one.
Thus the Buddha, Bhagavat, Tathagata, Arhat, Samyak Sambuddha, the learned and virtuous one, the Sugata, the knower of the world, the charioteer and tamer of beings, the unsurpassable one, the teacher of devas is the Buddha Bhagavat. The Tathagata is he does not waste the roots of virtue. He's completely ornamented with all patience. He is the basis of the treasures of merit. He's adorned with the maker. His activity is timely and appropriate. Seeing him is without disharmony. He brings true joy to those alone in faith. His knowledge cannot be overpowered. His strength cannot be challenged. He's the teacher of all sentient beings. He's the father of bodhisattvas. He's the king of noble ones. He's the guide of those who journey to the city of Nirvana. He possesses immeasurable wisdom. He possesses inconceivable confidence. His speech is completely pure. His melody is pleasing. One never has enough of seeing him. His form is incomparable. He's not stained by the realm of desire. He's not stained by the realm of form. He's not affected by the formless realm. He's completely liberated from suffering. He's completely and utterly liberated from the skandhas. He's not possessed with dhatus. His ayatanas are controlled. He has completely cut the knots. He is completely liberated from extreme torment. He is liberated from craving. He has crossed over the river. He is perfected in all the wisdoms. He abides in the wisdom of the Buddha Bhagavats who arise in the past, present, and future. He does not abide in nirvana. He abides in the ultimate perfection. He dwells in the gloomy where he sees all sentient beings. All these are the perfect virtues of the greatness of the Buddha. The holy Dharma is good at the beginning, good in the middle, and good at the end. Its meaning is excellent, its words are excellent. It is uncorrupted. It is completely perfect and completely pure. It completely purifies. The Bhagavat teaches the Dharma well. It brings complete vision. It is free from sickness. It is always timely. It directs one further. Seeing it fulfills one's purpose. It brings discriminating insight to the wise. The Dharma which is taught by the Bhagavad is revealed properly in the Vinaya. It is renunciation. It causes one to arrive at perfect enlightenment. It is without contradiction. It is pithy. It is trustworthy and puts an end to the journey. As for the Sangha of the great Dharma, it enters completely. They enter insightfully. They enter straightforwardly. They enter harmoniously. They are worthy of veneration. They are worthy of the frustration. They are a field of glorious merits. They are completely capable of receiving gifts. They are an object of generosity. They are a great object of complete generosity. The protector who possesses great kindness, the omniscient teacher, the basis of oceans of merit and virtue, I prostrate to the Tathagata. Pure, the cause of freedom from passion, virtuous, liberating from the world. This alone is the supreme ultimate truth. I prostrate to the Dharma which is peace. Having been liberated, they show the path to liberation. They are fully dedicated to the disciplines. They are a holy field of merit and possess virtue. I prostrate to the Sangha. I prostrate to the Buddha, the leader. I prostrate to the Dharma, the protector. I prostrate to the Sangha, the community. I prostrate respectfully always to be free. The Buddha's virtues are inconceivable. The Dharma's virtues are inconceivable. The Sangha's virtues are inconceivable. Having faith in these inconceivables, therefore the fruitions are inconceivable. May they be born in a completely pure realm. The 8 verses on training the mind. With the determination to accomplish the highest welfare of all sentient beings, who surpass even a wish-granting jewel, I will learn to hold them supremely dear. Whenever I associate with others, I will learn to think of myself as the lowest amongst all, and respectfully hold others to be supreme from the very depths of my heart. In all actions, I will learn to search into my mind, and as soon as indiscriminate emotion arises, engaging myself and others, I will firmly face and avert it. I will learn to cherish ill-natured beings and those oppressed by strong misdeeds and sufferings, as if I had found the precious treasure difficult to find. When others out of jealousy treat me badly, with abuse, slander, and so on, I will learn to take their all off the effort to reach them. For the one whom I have benefited with great hope, unreasonably hurts me very badly, I will learn to view that person as an excellent spiritual guide. In short, I will learn to offer to everyone without exception all help and happiness directly and indirectly, and respectfully take upon myself all harm and suffering of others. I will learn to keep all these practices undefiled by the stains of the 8 religious concerns, and by understanding all phenomena as illusions, be released from the bondage of attachment. Prayer for the swift return of RINPOCHE. Exalted wisdom of all victories gathered in the drop, sole refuge manifest in the form of the one wearing saffron robes. Guru Losantu, please bear witness here today that our prayers may be fulfilled. We beseech the great torch of doctrine, accomplishing from long ago the vast ways of aspiration prayers. Lord of speech, the victor of Son's teachings, spreading them to the ends of the earth by mindfulness, devotion, and practice. For holding the commitment, I will invite all these to be my guests in unsurpassed glory. Yet you will join the activities of the form body that serves the welfare of others. Is that worthy of the supreme beings, the Bodhisattvas? Were it possible for you to see existence and to abandon your commitment to liberate all beings, we beseech the new son of Nirmanakaya to swiftly return from the realm of Dharmakaya, brought forth by Buddhist Sutta, drawn by seven steeds. Having reached the far limits of scholarship, religion, and goodness, please come swiftly as an unrivaled supreme emanation, full hold of the sage's teachings, and merciful jewel, return to the glory of the Sanatana. Magnificent truth of the three precious jewels, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and Srimati Devi, and the ocean of Dharmakaya, may you spontaneously fulfill our wish, the swift blossoming of the reincarnation's fresh new life.
Thank you, Nikki. And Nikki, thank you for what you've done. Good trip, very successful trip, and we'll all be praying for your safe and swift return. But not the safe and return we're talking about.
Yeah.
May all your aims fulfilled.